Welcome to Small Town Big Life Podcast, coming to you from the bait shop behind Grace Fellowship Church in Avis. Today, we have our very own doctor and author, Jeffrey P. Wheeler, also known as Jeff, and his son, Isaiah. And we're here to talk about the new book he wrote, Beyond Victimhood. And looking forward to diving into this. So let's get started. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm wonderful. I'm still getting used to that doctor and author thing. It's I was having a discussion yesterday with somebody about trying to take on these attributes, understanding credential and how people view you through that lens instead of just saying, like, you guys know Jeff. And I'm like, do I need to get like a tweed jacket now with elbow pads?
It's easier to get a reservation when you call someplace and go, hi, I'd like to make a reservation for Dr. Jeffrey. They're like, okay. So that's, yeah. So that helps.
It has worked. You know, like when I'm at work and I find someone I really don't like, I just look at them like, it's doctor. Everybody else can call
doctor.
me Jeff.
It's doctor.
Right. Yeah, it's doctor now. I have a title.
Yeah. So. You have a lot of initials after your name now.
I have a ton of initials behind my name, and I love when people come up and they're like, what do all those mean? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Where do you want me to start?
Right?
Yeah. All I got's pastor. I don't use the scholarly ones. I should.
Yeah, you should.
Well, in the old days, it was just the defendant. That's all it said after my name, and now it says pastor. Isaiah, how you doing, buddy?
I'm a little tired.
Are you? This is Jeff's son, by the way. What prompted you to tag along? Just the topic, or I'm glad you're here. Totally glad you're here. Just curious. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Are you like the truth? So we were having this argument on the way here.
Okay.
And he was like, I'm nervous. I'm like, about what? We're just going to sit around and talk. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, I don't know. I didn't even want to do this. And I'm like, wait a minute. I told you we were going to be doing this podcast, and you were like, I want to do a podcast. That would be really cool.
See, all right, you're breaking new ground. It's on your bucket list, man.
Yeah, dude.
Go ahead, tell the truth.
That is not entirely true.
Okay.
That's not entirely.
So what's your version?
He asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said sure.
Okay. Well, that's
it's never that easy. No,
that's part of
me. He got on his knees. He was like, Dad, please.
Isaiah, have you looked at the book?
Yeah, and I watched one of the podcasts before.
Oh, did you see? You've seen one of ours before? Okay.
So what I thought made Isaiah a really good fit of, like, all my children, I have a whole gaggle full of them.
Yeah, I know you do. You got like a baseball team.
Yeah. He's the one that really understands academia. The best, and that's not taking a shot at my other children.
No, I know that.
He is definitely an academic, and he breaks things down, so we're able to have conversations at a different level. You know, you tailor yourself. Each children has different needs, but from an academic focus, we can always have conversations pretty wide open about that.
Right.
That's great.
So let's open up. Beyond Victimhood, Recovering Responsibility, Resilience, and Meaning in a Culture of Entitlement. Okay. So let's just start out with that. Before we go into any detailed questions that we have written down or any philosophical ideas, in your own words, talk about your motivation.
It was an accident.
Yeah.
Quite honestly. This started as it was like a bucket list idea. Mm-hmm. You know, I wanted to author a book. I was uncertain what direction I wanted to go. Let me clarify, this is not my dissertation. A lot of people assume that it was. My dissertation was about substance use disorder and type 2 diabetes.
Okay. Mm.
But I was peaking at my academic writing level. You know, mm-hmm. I'm in my last 2 semesters of my doctorate, and some ideas started coming to mind about dealing with entitlement, dealing with trauma, looking at the world where it was. Everybody has an excuse for everything all the time, except to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They don't know how to take care of themselves. Self-awareness is at an all-time low, and it's taking my experiences not only from being in a trauma therapist, but life in general, there's it's not related to me, but there's personal experience and growth and understanding that are tailored into the book, and saying, when are people going to take a look at themselves and realize that there's a solution to everything, and life happens.
It happens around us. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be mentioned before we get too far into the discussion, to make things a little easier for people to understand. Okay, so I have done drug and alcohol counseling in a spiritual capacity. In Ohio, you had to get a license for that kind of stuff. Here, one of the ways you have jumped in and helped me out was where it goes out of my wheelhouse, and we've worked with a couple people with problems for the listeners so they know, and you got heavily involved and almost taking over in one case to help right someone who was going off the tracks. And because you were counseling people and running I don't know, would you call it a wing or an area or a section of other people? That was you were actively involved in that. I saw that firsthand because we met and talked about it, and talked about, at that time, the person we were helping out. And so so the listeners know that, that's where your vantage point is, looking at and you and I both have past experience with issues, with addiction issues, and very past, thank God. Yeah. But which I think brought us both here. God can take anything bad and use it for something good.
Absolutely.
And so, and I know I call you Batman because of the way you jumped in to help me when I'm helping someone. So I wanted to let the listeners know about that vantage point before we go, because you're not just someone with a doctorate. You have been an active, moving, working participant for a long time.
Yeah. So recovery isn't my life. It's definitely a part of who I am.
Sure.
But it is, like most people would view it, as a curse. I see it as the greatest gift I've got. Because it taught me the capacity to be of service and of use to others, by, giving testimony that you can get better from anything, and it's not the thing that defines you. I don't run around and actually try to avoid it, where it's like my only testimony is, hey, I'm an addict. No.
Right.
That was the jumping point. That was the start of something, but it doesn't define who I am, and you'll find that even the book is tailored to that. These things that you go through don't define who you are. They're a part of you, of course.
Yeah.
But they're not the definition, Hardship is available to everybody and always will be.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Through the history of time. Those things don't define you. They're meant to develop character, to make you a better person. And most people just tend to stay stuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they like it. I'm finding more and more that people are enjoying their pain, and now we got other people rooting it on, and no one rooting, going, do you want to heal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. When I talk to people, well, I've talked about this in the pulpit, but before that I talked to people that were struggling. When I would try to counsel and help them, I teach them about what I call I didn't invent this term, plantation mentality. And, they would say, what's that? And I said, it's when the slaves were freed, there were a lot of them who thought, man, the world out there is scary and hostile. And if I go out there, what is waiting for me may be way worse than what's here. And this is just who I am. I'm not going out there. I'm just going to stay here. I don't like it, but this is who I am, and this is what I know, and I'm going to stay here. And that plantation mentality, it's, of course, in their position, you can understand how they could think that way. But in the mind of an addict, that doesn't make sense. You need to step out of the plantation mentality and say, no, I'm going to go out there being the metaphor for wanting to heal. And I know your philosophies they resonate with the same thing when I was reading them. Plus, I know you because we've talked about it. But I think Jackie told me started reading your book before me, and she texted me, say, hey, this is good. We should probably have Jeff on talk about this type. So I'm going to let her. I know she's got some stuff to say and some questions too.
Oh, definitely. I really enjoyed the book. You can see it's very dog-eared and marked with a lot of little stickies. Because one of the things that you spoke about at our women's conference recently, and that I wanted to ask you about specifically, is we're talking about the concept of victimhood and not feeling that you're stuck in it and moving towards survivorship. Mm-hmm. But one of the biggest elements of that right now that I'm seeing is social media and people almost wallowing in their trauma or whatever it might be, because that's what gets more attention. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So digital applause has turned into our social currency. Mm-hmm. And what I mean, yeah.
That's a profound statement.
Yeah,
very
right?
accurate.
We love the like button. We love the little hearts. We love the claps. And what we found is, I remember seeing the Me Too movement, right? Which has some quality to it. And what it does is it allows people to speak openly about what's going on, hidden wounds, things that we would hide away from the world or be afraid to project out, which is really good things that we give ourselves an option to talk about things that normally we wouldn't talk about. However, there's an and that goes with that.
Right.
There has to be an and heal, not stay stuck here, because staying stuck with the open wound is not a projection to help people. Your capacity to help people is based on your willingness to go through it, to do the hard work, to get better, and then to show others how to get better and go through it. With social media, we applaud the wound, yay, and then it's like, and you'll see there's vignettes, different ideals behind this. Is if I don't get the digital applause, then I'm doing something wrong. And it's a lack of validation of self, when all validation as a whole should be here. It shouldn't be from out here. That's between me and my spiritual identity with the Lord. Most people don't have that anymore. Their whole identity is surrounded by how many likes they get, how many different emojis they get,
and that is such a hollow thing too. I think about that all the time. How many likes? Because you coming from being a musician and doing albums and all that stuff, to me, I felt validated when people took the time to get cleaned up, get in their car, drive out, pay money, and crowd up front. I knew that they really liked me. But there's so many times people just see something they find mildly amusing and they click like and move on. And it's like, you think, but people look at that as if it's a crowded audience in front of them who really care, and they seek that validation. It's like, I mean, this goes beyond the context of which you just used it, and which is certainly true. But I think it goes even further than that. There's a lot of people who use it just for people that aren't experiencing any type of addiction problems. Put too much. They put too much into that. The thought. I'm struggling with my words here. The validation into that.
Well, there's generational gaps in it too.
Well, I know there are, but yeah, go ahead. I got an answer for that, but go ahead.
I was going to lean on Isaiah a little bit here.
I was going to, go right. Yeah, absolutely.
Because we come from a time where we grew up without an internet, and then we've transitioned into it, and we're like, cool, I can keep up with my old friends, I can catch up with these people from over here and there, and there is a social connectivity that we can really use to get messages out there. But the problem is we're not always spreading the right messages, and then we end up believing things that aren't true regularly because of social media, and now we have bigger social problems as a result of mass communication, because people start believing things about themselves to be true that aren't necessarily true because they're being fed by mass communication.
Yeah.
So my question is, from like a teenager perspective, is social media is like one of the guiding facets of life, right? And if I don't get likes, if I don't get the hearts, if I don't get any attention at all, what does that create inside of me as a result?
You guys are definitely old. No one uses emojis anymore.
Oh, okay.
Emojis?
Yeah, no one uses those anymore.
Okay.
So, what I'm asking is, like, what value does it have if I don't know, everybody in your school sees a specific post you make or a video you make? What's the internal value to it?
It depends on like what they're trying to do. Like if they'll post like they'll post something and they want attention and no one will give it to them and they don't.
Oh, you mean like if they so like in other words, if they're posting something where you can see they're just trying to get attention for themselves versus like if they post something that's just kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like if it's funny, people are more likely to say that's pretty cool. But if it's like look at me, people are like, no, I'm not going to do that. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Mm-hmm. Like if they'll like post like them crying or something. But they like want people to see that they're crying because they want attention for them.
Clickbait. They want, and that's another thing I never understand. There are certain things. See, you talk about generation gaps, which are tons, but there's also some things that are just universally human because he feels the exact same way that I do, and we're far apart in age. So I feel that way too. First of all, don't take drama on the internet, which brings us full circle back to your book.
Correct.
I've never posted any drama on the internet. Like if I had an issue, like when I see people say, well, my husband, or they're arguing with their spouse or something like that, I'm like, or if it's a remark that is intended to elicit oh, are you okay? What's wrong? I'm like, those things should be shared with a friend. Now, there's one exception. I understand when someone posts sometimes the death of a loved one because it's a way of letting multiple people who may know them at once.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So that's different. But when, like you said, Isaiah, when somebody goes on and starts crying and they start getting, I think, why in the world, I mean, who could reach out to you on here and have any meaningful impact that would, in fact, sometimes you're inviting someone to say the wrong thing. You have an ugly cry face or or something like that. It's like, I never understood why people did that. I know Jackie's pretty much of the same school of thought.
Absolutely. And we've talked here before about some countries actually banning social media for kids under the age of, I don't know if it's 18 or 16.
16 inside. Depends on the country, but yeah, right there somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think you would be healthier or you'd be able to pay attention in school more if you didn't have this cloud of social media over you all the time?
I personally deleted social media.
Really?
Good for you.
I mean, it's just easier.
Wow.
Like you're not reaching for your phone all the time.
That's incredibly mature.
Yeah, I brought up this thing the other day about, I said kids now are, the past 100 years, each generation experienced something unique. I was telling my wife, I go, our generation experienced the most advancements. I said, because we lived at a time where there was no internet, there was no, I go, microwaves were new, for crying out loud. I go, and now we saw the emergence of technology, the emergence of the internet, touchscreen technology, and AI. I go, more has been developed in our life than the kids now who were born into the age of the iPad, the phone. But beyond that, AI is the biggest jump. They haven't seen these massive changes. And I said, there's going to be two schools of thought coming out of this. Since there's so much AI everywhere, because I can spot it a mile away. I know somebody just said they wrote a book, and I started reading, and I'm like, nope, that's AI. You can tell the word. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all that. But kids now are going to grow up with a similar mindset to what you just described and say, it's like everything's fake. I just don't want anything to do with this stuff.
Yeah.
But there's going to be other kids who go, this is my reality. And it's not because they're dumb kids. I mean, I believe in young people. I believe there's a lot of good young people who definitely can have an amazing impact on the future. I'm not one of these people that say, young kids are stupid. I don't believe that at all. I think there's a ton of them that are going to change the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I love them, and I can't wait to watch them shine when they go out to change the world. But then just every generation has the group of the ones that don't. They just, for whatever reason, they remain down and I think those are going to be the ones who let the new technology become their I don't want to say they're God, but in a way
Their
it is
crutch.
their crutch, their reality,
Yeah.
and they're not going to advance in any other aspects of life.
It's a good segue, because I was going to say, like, AI used responsibly is probably a really powerful engine.
It's a great tool. It's a great tool if used as a tool.
Yeah. I know, like, even in writing this book, if someone used AI, of course I did. Yeah. There's a Grammarly connected to mine. I tend to lean towards Gemini rather than ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is too cut and dry for me sometimes. But what I did in even writing this book is I would get outlines and things put together and put things together in my words the way I wanted. And then I would go back to my old copywriting days. And when I was on the radio, you never used two of the same adjectives, right?
No, right, never.
Right.
And I'm checking myself on stuff like that. I wanted to command the English language in reference to my credential. I wanted to be known that not only am I an authority in this area, I'm not a dummy. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
One of the things I looked at then was, all right, is the average person going to be able to read this and understand it? And it's not a book in the classical sense. It's a text, and there's a big difference between a book and a text. Texts are meant to be studied. And that's what I really wanted to create. When I went into this, I'm going, can I read this one time and go, okay, yeah, I agree. But can I go back later and pick up new things out of it? I wanted to give people something to gnaw on. Like, you just don't want to sit and flip through pages and read, all right, cool, I read that book, back on the shelf. I wanted people to go back in and say, okay, there's still solutions in here I didn't pick up before. There's still little tidbits of things. I want you to sit and chew when you section it out, instead of just flying through pages. And that was really a goal that I set out to do. So, like, I remember when I first got the first print copies, and I handed it to my wife, and she's looking at it and she goes, this is boring. Yeah.
Did she say that word? Is that the word she used, boring?
Yeah. She jokes. It's very academically written, right? It was to colleagues.
Right.
It was written to colleagues, and hopefully a sociology class, would pick it up and review it. But anybody can pick it up, because we went on 3 different bases, which I call PMS, which I deal most issues I look at through a PMS lens, which is physical, mental, spiritual. And you have to incorporate all 3 areas to encompass the whole person, right? That whole Carl Jungian collective unconscious. You have to look at is deep down inside every man, woman, and child is a spiritual understanding that is God. If you don't include that in dealing with physical and mental problems, you're not dealing with a whole. This is the majority of our pain and suffering in the world today, is because they want to look at it through one lens or 2 lenses. They don't see it through all 3 lenses, and they don't realize you're not going to find solution without all 3 lenses. You can feel like you have solution, but it'll come back and haunt you later.
Right.
If you don't have threefold solution to any problem you're up against. And that's why everything feels so much like it's happening to me, because you have no outside responsibility to anything else. And that's how I took it as I wrote into it. So as people develop spiritually, as they develop their emotional maturity, as they develop physically, I mean, we change. It's going to offer you different solutions and understandings to whatever it is you deal with, and that's why it was outlined the way it was. I deal in 3s a lot. I mean, if you read it, and I don't know why that is. I actually had someone pointed that out to me too. They were like, you are the king of one-liners and you like to write in 3s. And it was from one of my buddies that I work with, who's heavy reader. And I was like, I didn't notice that. And he was like, yeah, when you describe something, you put things into 3s.
We were in communication school in college. We were actually taught to do that.
Really?
In speech writing and everything else, that, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, all those people always spoke in 3s, because there's something innate in our brains that just...
There is. Well, I talk about that with the Trinity.
Right. When it's in a 3, if for some reason it sinks in more for us.
It is. And same in storytelling, Act 1, 2, and 3, and you have It is. It's a rhythm
By
of
the
life.
people, for the people, all those different things.
Our holiday ends on a 3. We give our year ends with 3 holidays that work in sync with each other. We give thanks for everything we have. Then we celebrate God and each other and give gifts for celebrating life, and then we celebrate starting over again and a fresh start. So we give thanks, we love each other, and then we start anew. And so it's like holding hands through the end of the year. You've got this trinity of holidays. It's a natural rhythm, so that's a good thing.
Well, I used a psychological premise by accident.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't even know that I call it psychological premise as much as I would just a natural life rhythm. It seems like for people. I don't know. It could be. I mean, I'm not. You're right, but I think it's unavoidable for some of us. But I think that's a good thing.
A lot of what was developed came in the time. Like I can tell you how I was feeling when I was writing certain areas of it, and what was going on in life. This wasn't as much for everybody else as it was for me when I started it, and then it developed into.
Yeah, I would imagine
outward.
this has been walking around. A lot of these thoughts have been walking around inside you for a long time.
Yeah, and I've had people, and they're like, "So when's your next book coming out?" I'm like, "Whoa,
Right.
I think I got it. This was my last hurrah. It was like, you ever heard Led Zeppelin's "The Rain Song"?
Yeah,
that played in my head a lot while I was writing this. Right?
Really?
Because it has this. It's a calming tone to it, and then it's got some upbeat stuff, but it's always monotone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was where my head was while I was writing a lot of times, because I did most of my writing at night when things are still. I still enjoy that time. I like late night. I'm a night owl. I like the stillness of it and the quiet of everything. And that's where I can actually collect my thoughts, because, I mean, I know you know this. My brain's going 150 miles an hour at all times.
I can't turn it off. I know.
Yeah.
I can relate.
You go to sleep, and you look up at the ceiling, and you think about 8 things you got to get done. Then you overwhelm yourself, and then you get anxious, and you're like, I'm annoying myself. Shut up.
Right.
For me, that time's in the morning, because the world hasn't woken up yet, and it's dark out. Everything's calm, and but so I want to ask Isaiah. So as a young person, from your perspective, have you encountered a lot of people that are struggling with any kind of substance abuse? I mean, I'm not saying it's got to be like one of your best friends. I mean, could be, but people you're around. I mean, have you witnessed it? And if you have, what's your viewpoint? Because like you're young and your whole life's ahead of you. I mean, do you see this and go, "Man, that's messed up," or do you look at them and go, "That's what you get, bro"? I mean, what's that look like through your lens?
There's like a lot of it.
Is there?
Definitely like weed and vaping.
Yeah.
Not so much like cigarettes and like.
I'm talking about hard stuff.
Hard stuff?
Well, like meth and because I mean the stuff you said, none of that stuff's good for you. But weed, even though I never really got into it because I was an alcoholic pretty bad, it's way less damaging to society than alcohol is. In terms of when you look out into the world and see, in other words, you don't hear a guy smoking a joint and beating up his family, but guys that drink do that a lot. And so I'm talking about, like, I'm not disagreeing with or diminishing the things you mentioned, but I'm saying, like, harder stuff.
Are you seeing a lot of pills and?
Yeah, there you go, like pills, like meth. Like, I mean, do you see?
Not as much.
Not as much. Okay.
Like, not really ever.
But then the people that who do smoke a lot of weed, does that kind of define them? That oh well, that's the stoner dude. Like, does it feel like that's their identity? Because
it was for us.
Yeah.
Like,
that's just who they are.
It's just like you're gonna think that mentally for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the weed guy.
That's the weed guy.
Those are the potheads.
That's it.
Weed man.
Those are the potheads.
For the rest of his life, that's going to be the dude.
I always thought cliques would diminish with newer generations, but they don't. Because when we were kids, you had the jocks, the preps, the hoods, the potheads, the nerds. I mean,
it's the same still.
It's still the same.
Yeah.
Well, that's why The Breakfast Club is such a revolutionary movie, because it encompasses
so great.
all that, and it's a great sociological study.
It's good. Worth its weight in gold. for all those reasons. Yeah.
It is, because that's never going to change, and it never has.
Yeah.
And talk about hidden trauma and abuse and everything else in a nutshell in a hour and a half movie. I mean,
and the interesting thing about it, one thing it didn't explore, because it didn't have time and it didn't need to, quite frankly, was that when you get out of high school, 10, 15 years down the road, maybe 15 safer, a lot of the people didn't stay the same at all.
No.
And some in some cases became exactly, the popular girl wasn't doing so good, and the kid that got bullied on was doing really well and kind of bulked up and owned his own company. You're like, oh wow, look at that, man. So you can't, and it's weird because when we're young, we put such a permanent label on people, like in those like in the movie.
It's interesting you say that, because I've had some rekindling, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
With some old relationships when I started releasing the book, when I got my doctorate and all. I got this message from a friend from college. She ended up becoming a pastor.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she just sent me a message. She goes, you were somebody that I always worried about I wasn't a good enough friend to, because I went down a bad road starting in college.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's not true, because you just messaged me 30 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, if you'd have told me that this woman was going to become a pastor when we were 17 years old, same as saying that I would have been a doctor and written a book, I would have probably laughed myself to death.
Yeah.
So,
And welcome to my world.
It's interesting how that stuff turns out, and how people evolve. But people are still the same. We talk about how, things are so terrible in this culture. We're not having public executions now. We're not lopping off people's head for our children to see and taking everybody out.
I know.
Right.
Societally, we've changed as far as mass communication, but as far as the heart of man is always been evil. It's always been bad. And we've always dealt with things. We're dealing with them at a weaker rate than we ever have, because we've gotten so much into the consumer identity that we're not dealing with the problem.
Right. And you get into that so well in the book that, you can't think to yourself, okay, this is my identity now. This is it. For the rest of my life, I am a victim. This happened to me. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be the same. And then you start getting into responsibility and forgiveness. And those are huge. And to me, when I first started reading them, the concept of forgiveness of some of the things that happened when you were, a child, or when you were in college or whatever. No way. I'm never forgiving anybody for that crap that's still embedded in my brain. But it's not necessarily forgiving them. It's forgiving yourself.
Mm-hmm. That was, and I told Drew about this too. That chapter went under renovation about 8 different times.
You really?
Because I wanted to move away from the term self-forgiveness. And you'll notice that the term self-forgiveness is never used in it, because forgiveness is a spiritual thing. It's a gift from God. If we could bestow it upon ourselves, we would have a long time ago.
I did a whole message on that.
Yeah, and that message actually started a reconstruction of this chapter.
My message?
Yeah.
Oh.
It started a reconstruction of this chapter, because I was agreeing with everything you were saying. Because the truth is, the human understanding of forgiveness is tainted, to say the least.
Yeah.
We believe it's somehow something we control. And it's so beyond our control. What we do have choice of is whether or not we're going to do it, and then actively work towards it, right? There's a lot of action. It's not just something I say in my head, I forgive them. No, it is a whole action step forward in order for true forgiveness to happen. And we love the forgive and forget concepts, but unfortunately there is no forgetting with forgiveness, because that would be poor in judgment. I do need to remember some of these things, but I don't use them as a tool to beat myself with, which is a lot of people do. The true act of forgiveness, one, is something I have to ask for between me and God. All right, first off, because if I was fully under control of it, then I don't need God in this.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I have to look at is what action steps do I need to take for me to be responsible for my side of the street and all this. And in some cases, people are like, well, this happened to me. And that's where I come in and say, correction. These things happen. Mm-hmm. Every human being in this world is fallible. Everyone's going to fall short.
You can't get through life without forgiving people. Because I told my daughters, I said, everyone you meet in this life is going to let you down. And everyone that you encounter, you're probably going to let a lot of them down. And it's not because they're evil or you're evil. It's because you're human. You're human. And if you can't learn to forgive them, people, and I mean, I know I'm not talking about somebody that took you captive and held you in a basement for 10 years. We're talking about reasonable, everyday things that we do to hurt each other. You can't move forward because we do hurt each other. Everyone you know will let you down, and it's not because they mean it. And then, so you have to ask yourself, well, I mean, do I forgive them, or do I have the right not to? I guess that's a question you have to ask yourself.
Right.
Well, you do have a right. A lot of the book's going to point to your power and choice.
Right.
And you can choose to stay beaten down.
Bitterness is an acid that will eat its own container. I said that a million times, and you said it. Except it took a paragraph, and I read it, and I said, and at the end it was I marked it. At the end of it, I said, bitterness is an acid that will destroy its own container, and it's
drinking poison, expecting it to hurt somebody else.
We
look at resentment as something we're entitled to hold, and you can have it all you want, but you're going to have pain in life, right?
Right.
Your suffering is optional. And that's really what the premise is like, you choose your own suffering, regardless of what has happened to you or what you've done to others. You're going to choose the suffering, and people don't want to take the responsibility of that. Mm-hmm. They would rather keep the suffering because then they can control what happens next with that suffering. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying from an outside perspective is, if that's hurting you, that's not my responsibility. That's yours. And if you want some choice on how to fix it, there's plenty of people out there to help you, because there's nothing new under God's green earth. All right? Someone's been through this before and has got through it on the other side and have built their character and developed better as a result of it. People aren't special. I'm not special because I'm an addict. All right? People think that, oh, I'm a cancer survivor. All right, cool. You're supposed to do what the doctor told you to do. If I'm dealing with addiction, there are people with a planogram on how to get better on this. Mm-hmm. You either do it or you stay with the suffering. Mm-hmm. People don't want to hear that because they can control what happens when they have the suffering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the victim, and that's, when I saw the book, and I know who's watching. If you're watching it and not listening, you should be watching it on YouTube. The picture of the book's on there. What jumps out at me at first, and I'm sure I'm biased because you and I have talked about these things so much, beyond victimhood, and then you see Jesus walking up a path towards light. So there's a lot being said that's not spoken in that cover. The first thing I think about is how you and I both talked about our shared agreement for our disdain for victim language and the use of victim language. Mm-hmm. And then I see, Jesus on there, and I think another thing that some people don't like it is maybe, but the highest recovery rate has not come from secular means. It comes from spiritual means, because it treats the entire condition of the person and the soul, not just the body and the brain. Mm-hmm. And that, when I look at the cover, I think that's what I think of. I think, it says a lot without even saying anything other than the title. And I'm thinking, well, I know what's going to be in here. And I read it. When I was reading this, I thought to myself, what we discussed and what you pointed out, some of it has to be put on the lower shelf for a recipient to get it. And I asked you if it was aimed at colleagues. And, I had mixed emotions about it, but I also thought this is such a fourth grade me thing to say. But I remember back when I saw an interview with Stan Lee about Marvel Comics, and he said, I would intentionally put some words on the covers the astonishing he would put words that kids didn't use. He said, so when kids saw the word, they'd go, what's that mean? And so they would examine it and study it. And then when you said that a minute ago, it's the text is something to be studied, examined. And I thought to myself, this is it's so rich in usefulness and information. This would be a good thing if someone were going to teach a class on this and then have an accompanying study guide with it. I'm not trying to put more work on your back.
Grin on his face.
I'm not trying to put more work on your back. I'm just saying, well, you already do it. Everyone loves your class here that you teach, which is not. We don't have a bunch of addicts in the church. Well, I'm sure we do, but we don't know about them. Anyway, that's not the class. But I see. I have a clearer understanding after talking to you about it, and then after hearing the way you explain it. I know Jackie's got more detailed questions, and I'm just kind of eating up time here. Go ahead, Jackie.
Well, I know one of the things I asked you privately is, do you plan on doing an audiobook?
I am working on that now. I was actually going to. I'm working through a company called ADX. To work on that. I want to do my own voice track. I just think it's more personable. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm working on getting this set up to get it all recorded because they have certain requirements. I'm going through all that right now. I've just released the book to outside entities outside of Amazon, so it should be available through local bookstores and BAM and Barnes & Nobles relatively soon. My hope is that it lands in the right sociology professor's hand, which I have a colleague that I work with whose hand it is in now, and she's going through it, and she's like...
Professors love this size of a book because they can reasonably use the whole book.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, and it once again, by design. Once you start breaking the 200-page mark, you get outside of a semester's realm.
Yeah.
It was a lot to put into such a small text, honestly. The things left unsaid.
Right.
That's always the case.
One of the things I did want to look at is putting some things into practical application and something that we all go through and we all understand, because we all don't understand, addiction. But one thing we can all understand is death. Mm-hmm. All right. And if you haven't experienced that, you will. Mm-hmm. Right. That context has been one of the biggest barriers I've seen to people's growth than anything else, not only emotionally, but spiritually, because people use death as a way to go, well, God took somebody away from me. I'm mad at them. And I have to go, well, first off, God don't need your forgiveness.
Right.
And God doesn't need your defense. He's well defended.
Right.
And people, they have a hard time hearing things like that. But I want to know, because my dad certainly didn't have this conversation with me, when people thought that life was going to be fair. Like, did anybody have that conversation? Did you wake up one day and I'm like, come on, Isaiah, let's go have this conversation that life should be fair?
No.
Of course not. It would be an absolutely ridiculous
It would be ridiculous.
But for some reason, the human mind wakes up and goes, everything's going to be fair today. Everything's going to go my way. And it just shows a self-centered tendency. Mm-hmm. But let's put some things into context here. Nobody's getting out of life alive.
Correct.
So why do I act like death is happening to me? When I lose somebody of vast importance to me, somebody I love, someone that's really important, is death a part of life, or is death happening to me? Because, I saw the Pet Peeves podcast. My pet peeve is when people make someone else's death about them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Drives me insane. Mm-hmm. Because you're not getting out of life alive. Inevitably, you're going to die. Sometimes it's traumatic circumstance. Sometimes it's without warning. Granted, I'm not taking that away from anybody. But at what point was it about you? Because I get in a clinician's chair, people come in and be like, God took my mom away from me. And I'm like, correction. Your mom was never yours.
Right.
And they do not like that answer.
Yeah.
Well, that's a hard pill to swallow, but I mean, that was exactly my Christian journey. I was angry with God because he kept taking people away. And I finally had to, forgive myself and show that this isn't about me at all. And it's not about how much time I spent or didn't do or what I said or what I didn't say. It's just life. It just happens. And yeah, that's a really hard pill for somebody to swallow, especially if that's like their whole identity. I am the widow of blank,
There's so much that can be taken from it, from a death perspective, because people are like, well, their death was so traumatic to me. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get into definitions of trauma. I broke that down into the book because that's a word we have tainted, misused, overused.
I agreed.
And because I told you look stupid today, that's not a traumatic experience. But for some people...
Yeah, you talked about in here about a traumatic experience versus someone saying I'm traumatized.
Exactly.
And which is a different, anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right.
We create excuses around that. Ultimately, if I'm looking at it, we're looking for excuses for bad behavior at all times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is so much easier to take responsibility for the bad behavior and take corrective action than it is to continue to live with it, is the premise. That sounds easy, but to break it down a little bit at a time with different circumstances. Death is easiest to do because it's a circumstance we're all going to face, both personally and outside of us. At what point or another do I make a decision that I have to deal with me?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not the person. I tell people all the time, like, well, I'm sorry your mom died, but they ain't thinking about you right now.
Right.
And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, well, there are...
You said something about things happening versus things happening to you, things happening around you. Yeah. And because I know we've talked about that, but it's in there. And that's connected to what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's with anything we face. It could be depression, anxiety. I hear people say all the time, well, I'm bipolar. And I'm like, well, I'm an addict and I don't use drugs anymore. So what does that mean?
Right.
Know, these things become our identity. They're not just a part of who we are. Whether you've got a mental health deficiency, whether you've got a death in your family, that's not who you are.
I'm fresh off of using that in a sermon 2 weeks ago. I said people call their bondage their identity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, no, it's not. Like, I mean, even it doesn't even have to be a drug. It could be, this is a way I want to live my life this way. Mm-hmm. Therefore, I am, insert label here, I am this. No, I mean, that's not your identity. I mean, that may be a part of you. People are complex with multi-layers. Don't say that's not the entirety of you. Mm-hmm.
That brings forth the question, then what is your identity?
Right.
Yeah.
And I like to bring that to people all the time. It's more about your value system and how you explore your value system on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And if there's no exploration of value system, even quarterly, yearly, you're not going to be acting out on your values. You're going to be showing some values to some people you probably don't want them to see.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want to live in my hole of depression. Okay, enjoy that, Eeyore.
Right.
Yeah. Don't drag everybody else down with you into your hole of depression.
Exactly. What are you doing to get out of that?
Right.
And that's the constant question is, when does the healing process begin? And this isn't new.
Right.
Like, people are like, oh, like, even the way I titled it was to draw you into this is new. But this age of entitlement is not new.
No, it's nothing new under the sun. Right. It's just different things come to the surface generally, not even generationally. I think within a generation, different, greed's the new king, then lust is the new king, and then it's a rotating door for people that are in different cycles of their life, I think.
Timing is the most effective thing possible. Mm-hmm. We used to believe in these processes of grieving and stuff. You go through this process and all. And is some of it true? Yeah, absolutely. But no individual under the sun grieves the same.
Exactly.
Right.
And there has to be an understanding. There's individualistic perspective around this. We call it phenomenology, which means I can't truly feel what you feel. I can't truly think what you think, even though we have relatable experiences, right? The experience of a human being is highly individualized. However, there are certain gaps that we can all understand that healing is possible with everything. Why? Because it's been proven time and time before. And we don't look at the bleeding wound, we look at the scar. You know? Are you willing to put the Neosporin and the bandage on it? Are you willing to put a little alcohol on it, even though it burns like heck, to help it get better? Most people aren't willing to do that anymore. But once again, that's not new.
Right.
They've convinced themselves it's the plantation mentality.
Yeah.
What else, Jay?
Thinking process.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ties right into two great quotes that I marked down that you mentioned about harm, specifically about the concept of harm. What is contested is not the reality of harm, but the interpretation of harm as destiny rather than experience. And the second one is victim identity is not synonymous with being harmed. Harm is an event. Victim identity is a posture. We all suffer from harm. We've all had an event, whether it was traumatic or whatever you want to define it as. We've all been harmed, but that doesn't identify us as every single one of us is a victim.
Correct.
Right.
So the brain is really interesting with stuff like this, right? Your worst day ever is your worst day ever. It's not event associated. So if my worst day is my dog dying, and your worst day is a broken shoelace, the brain still understands worst day ever. It doesn't understand the event, right? And it's going to continue to add on to it. All right. So when we do comparatives, you're missing the point.
Got it.
Someone's worst day ever is still their worst day ever because it's based on their experience and their understanding.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So you treat the worst day ever. You don't treat the event.
Yeah.
And people get so caught up on events. You know, we can look at some atrocious things that have happened in the world's history. I'm a trauma therapist. I have heard some grotesque things. But I've also seen people recover because they don't make that grotesque thing their identity.
Exactly.
They see it as a part of something they went through, but when they got moving towards, they can use this to be of service to somebody else with.
Right.
They can use this to build character and have a better awareness of what's going on around them. That hypervigilance isn't always a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing in most cases. Then you can really start a healing process when you can see where these things were meant to build you up, you know, and the build-up process is breakdown first. I mean, that from, you know, any army that's ever been developed, we need to go through the process of unlearning before we go through a process of learning. And most human beings go through.
You learned what you had learned.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's so true. You what you think you know is not always true.
Right.
Or is not always reality. Like my brain tells me truth about all kinds of things that's not a reality at all.
Exactly. And then you have to absolutely hit rock bottom before you can climb back out.
Yeah, and there's a trap door in that rock bottom too.
You could stay there. You can stay there forever. It's comfy.
And I think some of it is giving people the choice to stay there and saying, okay, you're choosing this.
Yeah.
And then you extract yourself, say, listen, if you ever want a way out of that, I'm going to be here, but I'm not going to dwell in that hole with you.
Right.
But it's like you always say, too, that, you know, if you see someone down in there, you got to jump in there and get your shoes dirty, too.
Yeah. You got to sit down in the dirt with them if you want to help them up. I mean, and some people
can't just stand over the hole and go, hey, need a sandwich?
Yeah, pray for you.
You know?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to mix. You don't want to mix a lack of compassion with truth.
Right.
And that is also addressed in the book. You can be compassionate and direct. You can give people the truth with compassion.
I had a kid come in my office last year, and somebody told him, "Well, go see." To come to me anyway. I said, "All right. So what are you using?" And he told me, and I said, "All right. Well, I'm going to tell you because you don't know me. You've never been here." I said, "So I'll tell you. Here's what we got to do if you want to get better." I go, I don't care what happened to you in your childhood. I don't care what you're going through now. I don't care what bad things happen to you. And don't lie to me and tell me you you're using because you hurt. I go, you use because it feels good. Because getting high feels good. Because getting buzzed feels good. That's why you use. I go, the reason I drank, I could say I was hurting and I was self-medicating. We're throwing that out the window. There is no victim language here. I go, I drank because getting buzzed felt good. I go, I never thought to myself, boy, I've had a hard life, better drink. However, I go, the hard life, the darkness never took me to the alcohol. But when I got drunk, I dwelled in bad parts of my life. So the alcohol always took me to the darkness. But the darkness, so let's just get that out of the way right now. And the way we start immediately is accountability.
Yes.
If you're willing to start there, I can help you.
And that's accountability is such a big part of your book that, yes, you just, He
never came back.
Really?
Yeah, he never came back. Two other people I was helped to get clean when I told them that. And they said, all right. And they started admitting all the honesty parts. And I know I don't have to adhere to any code of ethics like Jeff does because I'm not a clinical counselor.
Right.
I'm a spiritual counselor. And I know sometimes he'd probably be sitting, if he was sitting next to me, he'd go, no, don't say that. But I'm just telling you my experience and what has worked. And, but Jeff and I, philosophically, I don't think I've ever disagreed about anything that we've discussed. At least if we did, I didn't remember it. But, yeah, you were, I'm sorry. You were.
Well, I was going to, accountability is the biggest thing. And we made point of driving home that accountability is two separate words. It's an accountability.
Yeah.
You have an ability to take account on how you view things. And that's ultimately where the crux of this is.
Right.
If you continue to view them from the status where you create your own prison, you're going to stay in prison. If you look towards the keys to freedom, you will find them. And it puts somebody in the position where they have to make a choice. And that's ultimately what I wanted to guide to write this. Let's put people in a position where they can make a choice. Let's cut out all the excuses like you're talking about. I do that all the time. Don't tell me your trauma got you high. You got high because it feels good. You like that warm blanket. You like that bell ringer. Let's call it what it is.
Right.
And inside my body, when that manifests, the only thing my body says is more.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's stop blaming your parents for your drug addiction.
Oh, that's a big one.
Let's stop blaming your upbringing, because if trauma caused addiction, everybody would be high.
The world would be full of addicts.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'd be stoned out of our minds all day long.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if I go into Walmart and I'm like, hey, who in here has problems? Everybody's going to put their hand up.
And everyone in there probably has a block of meth in their pocket too.
Well, I was going to say,
oh, just kidding.
How many people are banging dope, drinking, or smoking rock to deal with it? And
how many people have a pint behind the back seat in their car? Yeah. Okay.
And well, considering it's Walmart, it would probably
well, that's the joke. A lot of them probably have it right in their smock.
Right.
60-70% of them would still not, put their hands up.
Right.
Because they aren't dealing with problems that way. So what it is I've got a problem dealing issue. I refuse to deal with my problems. I've refused to take role in my responsibility, and I refuse to take accountability for I have chosen this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
This is the story I'm authoring in my head, and I'm playing it out like a self-fulfilling prophet.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people, I go, look, okay, because I've heard all the different problems. I was molested when I was a kid. I went through a divorce. It tore me out. My parents rejected me because I'm gay. All these, and they go, and then I use drugs or alcohol, and I go, okay, listen to me. These things that you just described that are tough about your life, you have to divorce that from the idea that they're connected.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I go, your brain is letting you convince yourself that because this bad thing is in your life, this is a necessary component. No, we're going to divorce those two things. Those are things that have to be dealt with separately. Mm-hmm. This is something that we have to isolate in on, because you can't control if someone else is treating you bad, but you can control your relationship with this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Whatever this substance abuse, whatever substance it is.
You are the one letting this thing define you.
Right.
And that's what we call the response.
And that's why accountability has to come in. Because if you let people marry those two ideas, they can say, well, it's not my fault. This stuff's happening.
Right.
And that's where we get these victimologists and pathologizers when they tell people, that's not your fault, you're a victim. Well, you've just enabled someone. You've just sent them out the door. And so now they can go back into the world and go, well, I can't help it. No, yeah, you can. And you're not going to get better until accountability. Anyway, I'll stop.
No, this is what the whole book is designed for, right?
Yeah.
I want that internal conversation.
Sure.
I want people to take control of their responses, not their reaction, because, people say all you got to do is watch the news and you can get angry. It's designed to do that, right? So shut the news off. Shut it off, right? And see what you're really angry at. It ain't the stuff on the news, right? It's stupidity.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
stupidity. And the whole premise of stupidity is I can't get people to think the way that I want them to think, so I'm angry.
Yeah, well, there's a whole world full of people like that. It astonishes me what people will give up their day and go out and march and fight against, and I'm thinking,
Don't you have something better to do?
I got a job. I mean, and a lot of it's manufactured. I mean,
it is.
And it's because I think people see, and it doesn't matter what the topic is. This is not a pro or con any topic at all. Just put a generic topic out there, and people say, "Well, I want to," because people have the biggest need people have is to be heard, and so they want to go out in the world. They're like, "Well, I want to march and stand for something, and if it's not there, I'll make it up." And if I don't make it up, I'll grossly exaggerate what is there. And if I can't think of something, I'll march with whatever my friends are marching for because they're probably right. But I want to be heard, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to get mad. And you're like, not enough people stop and go, is this, maybe I should look into this to see because what if I'm wrong? I mean, but it's you get full of this self-righteousness, like this is my thing and I'll die on that hill. It's like, hang on. There are a lot of ways you can make life better in the world for whatever you really believe in, other than going out with people you don't know that well.
But in the same token, when you said before that stuff is happening around you, not necessarily happening to you,
Yeah.
I took that to heart because I would watch the news and I would get so upset, and because there's so much crap that makes me so angry, and I want to help and I want to do things. But it's not happening to me.
Exactly.
It's not. There's nothing I can physically do to fix the Epstein files. There's nothing I can do to change the political landscape of the United States.
And the offense itself might irritate you, but you're right. It's not affecting you because I know I don't want anybody to think that you mean you don't care.
No, it's not that I don't care. It's
your response to it shouldn't be so visceral.
It shouldn't be sitting in the corner. One night after watching the news, I literally just crumbled and sat in the corner and cried. And my husband was like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, "The world and the thing and the mud." He's like, "It's not a."
Did you see Wild at Heart?
Yeah, it's like it's not affecting you.
When she was hearing all the bad stuff on the radio, all the news, get some music on that radio right now.
That's right. That's right.
I'm sorry. I told weird reference.
What's great is everybody thinks this is new. It's not.
You're right.
It's not. In fact, it's just more exaggerated because it's more hypnotizing to see on television.
Oh, because we're surrounded with the television and the social media and everybody commenting and sharing and posting and all that. Like you said before, all the attention and the digital currency of it all.
Remember that song "Jamming Me" by Tom Petty? You're jamming. I mean, the whole idea of the point of that, there's everything all at once right now coming through the TV and the news is just get out of my head. Stop.
Exactly.
Stop. What do you get that from your perspective? Or you just like now? Because Isaiah's first line was, "You're old," to all of us. So I want to know. I mean, do you even pay attention to that stuff? Like when the news and the stuff that's going on, you're just like, I mean, yeah, I see what's going on, but I got more important things to worry about right now. Or does it get to you?
I have opinions of it, but
well, sure, everybody does.
But my sister will always be like, "You haven't taken government class, or you don't fully understand what's happening." Which she's definitely right on.
This coming from his 18-year-old sister, 19-year-old sister.
Sure. How old are you?
15.
Okay.
15.
Okay. So she's saying you don't know enough about the world yet to form an opinion, because that's something a sibling would say.
Yeah, she's like, you don't understand what is happening enough to know.
Okay, well,
you don't know enough to know to be passionate about it.
Okay, here's what's interesting about that.
Okay.
First of all, it doesn't. That's something a sibling would say, or maybe even a parent. But there's some truth to it. But the thing is, you think the more you learn in life, that you'll wake up one day and go, "Now I get it." But it's the other way around.
It doesn't work.
The longer you go and the more you learn, the more. If you're a smart person, you think. You discover that you never find everything out about everything. And then you have to start thinking for yourself in terms of, well, now I have to develop the ability to recognize nonsense from and what's important. And then it's like, because people just believe what they see, and it's not. People say young kids do. This isn't just young people.
No.
Old people live their life through memes.
Yes, absolutely.
And that young kids get a bad rap that's all they do. Well, no, I know a lot of people older that do that. They get all their news and everything from the memes and the internet. And they see stuff. Somebody marching against or for something, and they just believe it. They go, well, look, that must be true.
Hey, I watched. My wife loves possums. She thinks they're the coolest animal ever.
They are neat. I think they're cool too.
They're gross, but
they serve purposes and they're cool.
They eat ticks.
That's the only purpose. Thank you. That's a good thing.
But I saw this video where there's a bunch of them. When they get scared, they just go into paralysis. And I saw this video of like this guy massively scaring them all one time, and they all fell over. And I sent it to her, and she was like, "That's AI." And I'm like, "Everything's AI anymore." I don't know, but it was really cute, so I sent it to you.
Yeah, like the fainting goats. They do the same thing.
Yeah. You don't even know what to believe anymore.
Exactly.
No, with deep fake technology and all that, they can. I know that's a whole. That's a whole other conversation.
We talked about that too.
We're over.
We're a little over, but that's okay.
We're at a closing point.
So, in closure.
Yeah, I was going to give you the floor. Go.
And it's simple. All right. Most things that appear complicated are very simple in solution. All right. There are people there to help. You have to ask for help. People are not going to chase you down, and you have to get responsible in how you see the world. And when I say being responsible about how you see the world is you are responsible for your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors. Nobody else's. And when you try to dictate somebody else's outside of your own, you're outside of your locus of control, and you're getting ready to cause yourself some pain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately what we're getting to, is taking responsibility for those three things. And if I could do them all on my own, we would have done that a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So the message goes further than that. Where's my reliability in dealing with things? And people really got to take a look at that, of what direction they're going to place some responsibility, some reliability, because it may not exist always in this world. So you really got to do some soul searching, for lack of a better term, to find out where your resolutions really lie, because they're not always in other people.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Isaiah, you want to say anything while we're wrapping up?
Do you think that because people were so like people who don't believe things on the internet, but they are true, and vice versa, do you think that the reason the world is so much more divided now is because people don't know really what they're talking about?
Oh, yeah. I think
it's a great point. Yeah,
we're in the great misinformation of society, not the informative society that we thought this would lead to. I think the internet has created more misinformation than actual information.
And he's right. It's created new lines of division that previously either didn't exist or existed in a very weak way, and weaker way than they do now.
Because people will believe things, and then when they're called out for it, they don't even know what they're talking about.
No, I know, but they'll argue with you with all the conviction as if they're right, and it's frustrating.
And then you prove them wrong, and they're like,
they won't accept it. Right? That's a pride thing, and
that's very much a pride thing.
Yeah, they're worried. They can't. I've resigned myself. Like, I have a Facebook page, but I don't post anything deep on it. I get like a joke or something funny. I mean, maybe once in a while I'll say something kind of, but I don't do that stuff because I know not likely I'm going to change someone's mind. So I post the stuff I care about on the church pages, like church sermons and things like that. But for my page, I only have it so I can be admin for the church page. So, but people live through it. They post things. They fight about it. And you're absolutely right. There's such an overwhelming amount of it that it has created new lines. People are being divided into smaller tribes now. And which means more wars. The more tribes, the more wars. And that's why the world is in chaos. I commend you for your attitude towards, wanting to keep things a little distanced from social media because that's a smart move. Jackie.
I just wanted to wrap up saying the book is available right now on Amazon, and it is going to be available soon at BAM and at
Barnes & Noble.
And
locally at Otto's Bookshop in Williamsport.
You going to do a signing or anything?
Yeah, I'm still organizing that right now with them. They have to wait till they get so many ordered in, and then I'll organize a date and a time. It'll probably be on the first Friday.
Okay, excellent. We'll keep the podcast updated with updated information on that, and we'll post it on social media as well. But the book is absolutely fantastic. I personally don't think it's too clinical. I think it's, like you said, it's one of those things that you dive into, and then you come back to a section later and you dive into it some more. I thought it was absolutely brilliant and a really, really good read.
I concur. I think it'll be a profoundly useful tool for anyone who gets their hands on it. And the cover pulls you in and says, "Here's what this is about," right away. So you go, okay. And I didn't know this was on the horizon when you've done so much to help me, and I've got to talk to you in personal ways over dinner, over breakfast, and got to know you. So I'm really impressed with this and what you're doing, and I'm happy for you, and I'm looking forward to people getting this that don't have it too. So thank you. Thanks, Isaiah, for coming on and jumping in the conversation. It was good to have you. It was definitely insightful. We talked about needing younger people on more, and it is valued.
Yeah,
I know you didn't want to talk a whole lot, but hope you had a good time.
Yeah.
All right, guys. All right, I think that's a wrap.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks.
Oh,